Attention, duelists! If you could all stop staring at my hair for a moment.
What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. We're here with another video. Hope you're having a great Sunday ahead of you. If you're new to the channel, please feel free to hit that subscribe button, leave a thumbs up on the video, and ring that notification bell so you stay on top of all the cool stuff we've got coming up for you, like the return of the Yu-Gi-Oh! Abridged Progression series. We're doing the Domino City duels, and we're getting into Battle City. That was a whole lot of fun when we did it for Duelist Kingdom, so we're excited to bring the series back. Got a lot of openings on the way, going to be doing tons of giveaways, and that's what we want to get into today. Is a little bit of a discussion. You know, every once in a while on Sundays, we open up the forum, we talk about things that are happening in the TCG, and one of the biggest things that dropped this week was the announcement of the Mimighoul archetype, the world premiere for the TCG. And I've been seeing a lot of flack on the Mimighoul stuff. Really, there's a lot of flack on world premiere stuff for TCG. It's from my understanding that for about the last decade, the world premieres have not been too hot. Either that or they just don't follow up with them. But this Mimighoul stuff, even though I don't think it's going to warp the meta or anything like that, it is going to throw some people off. And the technique behind this deck is so weird and goofy. This is why I love Yu-Gi-Oh! Honestly, I love all these weird playing styles of decks. Like, I love the Amaze Attraction decks. So decks that like don't play like they normally play, that are kind of goofy, I love those. So many people are focused on competitiveness and playing locals and playing the top tier. I feel like a lot of people have forgotten how to enjoy this game and have fun with it and play at home with friends. Like, I don't know. I feel like it's been way too focused on being competitive and being the best, and completely forgetting that this game is supposed to be fun. And there's so many decks that you can play. Pigeonholing yourself to just competitive, it just seems boring. It feels like you're sucking the fun out of it. So today, what we're going to go over is some tech options from Mimighoul. Now, if you are on Facebook, make sure to join the Mimighoul Duelists Facebook page. Like I said, this is a world premiere, so everybody is brand new to this deck. Everybody's trying to figure out what works best. So today, we're going to kind of take a look at a bunch of different tech options for the deck other than the core. Actually, we're going to include the deck core themselves. We're going to have a little discussion. I encourage you guys to let me know in the comments section what your thoughts are, what you plan on running, what you think of this tier list, if you agree, if you disagree, if you got some options, because the entire idea is we want to help each other. This is a brand new deck, so let's see what we can make happen. Before we kick off the list, I have a giveaway. We're going to do Downard Magician's Secret Rare from Rarity Collection, the little spicy secret action, as most likely going to be running Downard in this deck, in the extra deck. So make sure to leave a comment down below if you want to get in on the giveaway. As always, we announce the giveaways at the end of the month. I'm going to tag you guys in the comment section. I'm going to reply, so make sure at the end of the month you check the video, and we'll announce the winner at the end of the month. Okay, so let's start at the very first one. It's one that was mentioned in the video. This is one that even came up before the the official release from Konami. Fire Sorcerer. Like, this one, I'd say in general is a solid. I would probably put this as an S tier, as a starter. If you're gonna go first, if you're opening up and you're going first, Fire Sorcerer is going to be clutch, because again, you're going to get burned for 800, but you're getting rid of 2 cards from their hand. If you have Archfiend and you can flip that up, that's 3 cards. There's a lot of damage you can do, and you can really just deplete your opponent's hand. So I feel like, as far as a tech option, going first, Fire Sorcerer has got to be in the deck. Also, getting into Guard Dog, I think that's another one that we're going to throw up in the S tier as well. Cutting your opponent off from special summoning is going to be crucial if you're going to be going first. Being able to flip that face up, especially if you've got especially if you've got Master on the field, but also if you've got Sol and Luna set. I mean, there's no real way to search Sol and Luna, unfortunately, because we don't have any generic quick play searchers. But if you got Sol and Luna and you open it up, let's say you're playing something like Pot of Prosperity, that could be coming in handy as well. If you want to search out your Sol and Luna, you're willing to ditch 6 of your extra deck cards for that chance. You can pretty much cut your opponent's legs out from underneath them if you've got Guard Dog on your opponent's side of the field. So that's another interesting one I came across, and this is one that I had kind of picked up on, and then somebody else had posted this in the Mimighoul Duelist page, was Prediction Princess Koinorma. This one's interesting because you can basically act it as a quick effect. Oh, it's not even a quick effect, it's a flip effect monster that you could flip during the standby phase if you did use Sol and Luna or another effect monster to get this monster up. The first effect doesn't really matter because it allows them to special summon a level 3 or lower flip monster, which most people are not playing flip monsters, but it also cuts them off from activating any kind of monster effects for the rest of the turn, which could come in handy whether it's your opponent's turn or your turn, whether you're going first and they're going second, doesn't really matter. If you're going first and you can find a quick way to get Koinorma out on your opponent's side of the field and then flip it up, that can basically cut them off from hitting you with Nibiru, any kind of hand trap, so it can give you protection if you open up with the Mimighoul spell card. So I would put this at an A. This is kind of it's a unique tech option. I'm just kind of going back and forth on it. I'm not sure if I want to include this in the deck. I love the idea of being able to protect yourself from hand traps and Nibiru, so I'll leave it at A for now. Another one which is kind of come to mind is Cyberjar. I like Cyberjar as an option for my opponent's turn if I can get it face down using the Mimighoul spell card. The only issue with this is there are a lot of cards out there that aren't destroyed by card effects. So it kind of depends on what deck you're playing. I think I would leave this in the B tier. I like it for removal. I love the fact that it can just wipe. But we also have Dragon that does that as well. So Dragon basically eliminates anything that isn't Mimighoul. So Cyberjar, I would put it a solid B. I think it's a good option depending on what deck you play. But if you got a lot of monsters your opponent's playing that can't be destroyed by card effects, it doesn't really make a huge difference. Another option up there, Penguin Soldier. Again, this is an option if you're going first and you can leave Penguin Soldier on your opponent's side of the field and you can flip it face up after they get a bunch of monsters. But again, that's considering you don't have very many Mimighoul monsters on your opponent's side of the field. If you kind of brick, I would probably leave Penguin Soldier in the C. I like Penguin Soldier. I love it. I was kind of hopeful that maybe with this flip effect support that Penguin Soldier would kind of become a regular player in the deck, but I just don't see it making a whole lot of options available for you to want to use, because there's way better options to get your opponent from either not summoning or getting their stuff off the field. Taking a look at Flames here. Flames is, I think it's something that you could put, I think it would probably normally go in the C, but I think this is floating. If you're playing like a runic kind of, if you're playing like some kind of a runic Mimighoul stun deck, especially if you're mixing runics and Mimighouls, I would put this up in S, being able to mill 3 off the top of their deck to kind of mirror what Cerebus does would be clutch. If you're not playing the runic mix with Mimighoul, I would probably put this at a C or a B. I mean, again, you're getting rid of the top 3 cards off your opponent's deck. But if you are playing runic, I would put this at the top. Hyra Shadow Scout is another one that I think I would toss in the A slot. It depends on what you want to get. It depends on how you're using it. If you want to use it for your draw power, if you're running limited amounts of spells, if you're not running a majority of spells and traps, if you're running a majority of monsters, and you're running less spells and traps, I would consider maybe throwing that in there as a tech option. If not, if you're using it, if you're playing an opponent who uses a lot of spells and you want to use it on your opponent, I think that's another good option too. But it depends. If you're running a lot of spells in your deck, I personally would kind of stay away from using it on myself, because there's a lot of good options to cycle through your deck, especially with Mimighoul stuff. Another one is the Thunder. This is kind of a different one. I would put this at B, only because I would put it in mid-range, because this is an interesting one. When it's flipped, the controller gains 3,000, and when it's sent to the graveyard, they lose 5,000. So it's one of those things where you can, burn them for 2,000 damage if you can get it off the field immediately. But I know I'd even toss it down into the C range. It's kind of one of those goofy tech options. If you can find a way to FTK your opponent, this might come in handy. But other than that, it's just kind of a goofy flip option. Again, we're going through this tier list. I'm going through all the goofy flip effect monsters that I could find. Rolling into, keeping into the main deck here. Another one that I've seen is Vernisylph. This is one that I feel like you could throw in A, but I'm feeling like a lot of people are using this as a an option engine for the Mimighoul deck. So I don't have a whole lot of experience with the Vernisylph monsters. I know a lot of people are saying that they work really well. I'd have to mess around with them. And let me know in the comment section if you've messed around with the Vernisylphs, and maybe even explain for other duelists out there how this can work in tandem with the Mimighouls, because I'm genuinely curious. Because right now, the Mimighoul deck as it is, the core, they've given us enough, but there is stuff that we can throw in there to make it a little bit more consistent. And again, this is just the beginning for the Mimighoul deck, so it may get to a point where pure is the way to go. But for now, I'm seeing a lot of people who are hyping up the Vernisylph stuff. Getting into the Mimighoul monsters themselves, I think obviously Master, you're playing at a 3. It's basically the boss monster of the 4 Mimighoul monsters, and after one turn, it becomes a 3,000 attack level 4 monster, which is nuts. And it gives you that protection, and it gives you that flip effect as well as a quick effect. Cerberus is one that, again, I would almost play it as a 2, the way I'm playing it now, because it frees up, you know, like when you're building your deck, it gets to a point where you're trying to figure out what am I going to cut out to make room for 1 or 2 little tech options, you know. And I feel like Cerberus you could play at a 2 and still be safe if you're going to just stick with the pure Mimighoul. However, I would say if you are running that runic, you would obviously want to play this as a 3. If your entire idea is to mill your opponent out, Cerberus wants to be at a 3. Being able to mill the top 3, and again, paired with Flames up here, that's a nasty combo. So for pure Mimighoul, I personally am going to be playing it at a 2. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Going to Archfiend, I think Archfiend and Dragon are both 3. Archfiend being able to, again, paired with Fire Sorcerer, discard a card from your opponent's hand, and with Dragon being able to wipe their field using the quick effect to flip them during your opponent's turn, gets you all your Mimighoul stuff back and wipes their board. I think that's a great card as well. So I would say these 3 definitely at a 3. Pure Mimighoul, I'd play Cerberus at a 2, but if you're playing Runic, definitely triple him up. And then wrapping up the main deck with spells and traps here. This is another interesting option, is Summoning Curse. Summoning Curse is a continuous spell card. And every time that your opponent special summons a monster, or basically whoever special summons a monster, is forced to banish 1 card from their hand. Now, in order to do that, you're going to have to pay 500, but if you're going to completely eliminate your opponent's hand, I think that's kind of worth it. Now, this is an interesting option too, because I've seen some people who have been testing this, they've main decked it. If you don't open it up in the main deck, if you're main decking it and you're going first and it doesn't work out, that could be an issue. A lot of people are saying like they would mainly side it so that you can guarantee use it when you go first. So like if you lose the first duel, you can side it in when you know you're going to be going first and try to get that effect out of it. But some people are main decking it, some people are siding it. That's really your choice. And again, a lot of this stuff depends on what kind of build you're going for. If it's pure, if you're mixing it with something. But yeah, Summoning Curse, every time they special summon a monster on their field, they have to banish a card from their hand. So, I mean, between this and this, between Summoning Curse and Fire Sorcerer, I just feel like you could completely deplete your opponent's opening hand so that they literally draw into 1 card for their first turn. So, again, that's just an option up there. Here's another weird one too, Dark Piercing Light. I'll probably put it B, because this is another side option that you could main deck if your entire idea is to activate those Mimighoul effects on your opponent's side of the field. F them up as much as possible, get your monsters back and build a board against your opponent. And then maybe use the Mimighoul spell to get one of these flip effect monsters like Fire Sorcerer or, you know, Coin Norma, Guard Dog, something like that. Get all your monsters, build a board back, use that spell to get one of these flip effect monsters on your opponent's side of the field, and then trigger that during your opponent's turn. I think that's a pretty good option too. So Dark Piercing Light is another one of those that you could main deck, but again, that's your call. Also, Geonator, the Link 2 monster. If you ever end up in a situation where like you do activate the Mimighoul spell and you choose one Mimighoul and a flip effect monster, and they end up picking the Mimighoul and you want to get the flip effect monster on their side of the field, the nice thing about all this stuff is the wording is that you special summon it to your opponent's side of the field. So you pick the zone that it goes to. You could, in essence, set that Mimighoul monster on their side of the field, and it could be one whose effect you've already activated, and you could set it in that zone that Geonator points to because it's top right and bottom left, and then you could have a monster set up in that zone. You can link into Geonator and then swap the two monsters so you do get that flip effect monster on their side of the field. It's not in this tier list, but it is up there as an option. I've got it in the extra deck because personally love the idea of being able to choose and make sure basically you're guaranteeing with Geonator that the card you want on their side of the field ends up on their side of the field. And we get so many monsters back anyways with the Mimighouls that I feel like it's a pretty good extra deck option. That's my opinion. Book of Tayu, again, I think I'm going to put in A. I'm main decking this because sometimes you don't get to master and you need to flip. You want to flip up one of your Mimighouls on your opponent's side of the field, or you want to flip up Fire Sorcerer. There are the odd times where you're not going to be able to flip it up. So this is just kind of as kind of a backup plan, just in case you brick in terms of being able to flip your opponent's monsters face up. It is the downside to it is that it's a normal spell, so you can only activate it during your turn, which is kind of a bummer, but sometimes you do want to get those flip effects up on your turn. It's not a quick play. So again, I wouldn't put it like you must start it. But again, I have it in the main deck for now. We'll see how it works out. Tickaboo, there could be only one. I saw a lot of people like you can main deck this, you could side it. I'm personally siding it because all the stuff we're dealing with is Earth monsters. So if you can only control one of each Earth monster, I could see how that could negatively impact you, but also negatively impact your opponent. So I'm siding it. I'm keeping it up there. Main deck, Goes and Match. I think this is the one to do. I think Goes and Match should be in the main deck, considering you can only control one kind of attribute, and for the most part, that'll come in handy when it comes to getting your stuff out on the field. You're going to have all Earth monsters. Some people, however, if you're dealing with like Fire Kings right now, or not Fire Kings, but Snake Eye, there are some Dark mixed with Fire, so it could come to your help. But I feel like you can either start it or side it. Either one is fine. I think these two are a must. Triple Tactics, Talent, and Thrust. I feel like both of these go in the main deck. The fact that you're literally triggering your opponent to activate your monster's effect on their side of the field, which becomes their monster. Whether you open up Talent right here, you can get another discard. So again, between Archfiend, Sorcerer, and this one, you're shuffling a card back into their deck. They're left with one card in their hand before they even have a turn. That's insane. Thrust is cool because you could literally get any normal spell or trap. So again, that helps with like Book of Tayu if you need to flip a monster on your opponent's side of the field face up. If you want to get Dark Piercing Light and flip all of them up, normal spell or trap is clutch. Being able to go in these two cards. I also have main deck Pot of Prosperity too, so you technically have 9 Triple Tactics Talent in your deck with Pot of Prosperity. So you have 9 options to get to it. Again, I think it's pretty much a given. Going over to the extra deck as we get near the end of this list, Robin is up here. I think Robin is a great level 1 or rank 1 to put in the extra deck. being able to, you know, to have that interruption just in case on your opponent's turn. Anima, Relinquished Anima, I think that's another great rank 1 or link 1 to start into your extra deck, considering all the level 1 monsters that we've got in our decks. The last 2 here are pretty interesting. We've got number 13 and number 31, and these are cards that I'm definitely going to be putting in the extra deck because the effect on these is so ruthless that if you can get these out, and again, it also depends, this all depends on what your build is. This all depends if you're just running pure Mimighoul, if you're mixing it with Vernisylph. But number 13 and number 31 are rank 1s, and they basically make it, they act somewhat like Makenko. You know, the fact that your opponent's taking all the damage, it's got low stats, and you can have that interruption where you flip on your opponent's turn. It just gets you an extra way to flip monsters up during your opponent's turn. I love these 2 cards in tandem. I think they're both going to be helpful for the deck. And again, you detach from them in order to activate. So it gets your Mimighouls in the graveyard. So this is my tier, man. I want to know what you guys think in the comment section. Again, we're all new to this deck, so I'm very interested to see what you guys think of the deck, what tech options you're running, what you think the best ones are, and I look forward to all of us helping each other out and try to make this fun, kind of wacky deck sort of like an interruption. I think it's kind of funny. So again, let me know what you think in the comments section. If you want to get down on this giveaway for the secret rare Downward Magician. And again, much love to you guys supporting the channel. Feel free to subscribe, and we'll talk to you next time. Until then.
Deuces.
Penguins!